Hello and welcome to BlueTube, where we talk all things blue. And yes, I did get a haircut, but that's not what this video is about. Today I'm going to be reviewing the match of Chelsea versus Newcastle United, and it was, I'll get into this a lot because I have a lot to talk about in this game. So don't be surprised if the video is like 30 minutes long. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about right now because I'm just going off the script. But obviously we did draw 2-2. We actually went 2-0 down, for those of you that didn't watch the game. And we fought back in the very, very end, with Ramirez scoring in the 79th minute and Willian in the 86th minute to pinch a 2-2 draw against Newcastle. And, it's disappointing. That's what I can say. 2-2. You know what? A draw isn't always the worst result when you're playing away in the Premier League, right? You have those days. And sometimes, especially, I mentioned this before as well, I think, St. James's Park. If you guys don't know, Mourinho has actually never won a game at St. James's Park in his entire career. And that run continues. And, we always suffer, and we always, find it difficult to go to that ground. We always find it difficult. But the reason that this hurts the most to me is because of two things. Firstly, is just the incredibly poor run that Newcastle are on right now. That annoys me, and the fact that we couldn't beat an incredibly poor Newcastle. And the second thing that annoys me is that the goals we conceded were some of the cheapest goals, some of the dumbest goals you'll see in your life. And as I always say, go watch the highlights if you haven't watched the games. If you haven't watched the game, because you will want to do that. But as I said, Newcastle, they've been on an incredibly poor run lately. And in fact, I don't know if this is right, but I think I heard this somewhere. Newcastle have not won a Premier League game in their last 17 games. 17, that goes back, way back to last season. And in fact, if you guys remember, at the last day of last season, Newcastle won that game, and that led to them staying up. If they hadn't won that game, they would have gone down. They would have gotten relegated. So they're not a strong team at all. They in the summer they went out, bought Wijnaldum, they bought Mitrovic, and they did strengthen their squad. But this season, they've been playing terribly. In fact, I think they've won. In fact, I don't think they've won a game this season. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe they won a game. No. They lost against Sheffield. They won the second leg, the second round of the Capital One Cup, I think. But the third round they lost against Sheffield. I think I'm correct in saying that. And every other game, they haven't won. They drew against United, I think. And they lost basically most of their games. In fact, I think they lost all of their games, apart from the United game. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the point is, they've been playing terribly. They've been incredibly poor. And, they're a team in real crisis. Chelsea people are saying we're in crisis. We're not going to be competing for the league this season. We're not going to make top 4. Blah blah blah. I don't buy into any of that. But Newcastle are a team that were in genuine crisis. Nothing was happening their way. Nothing positive at all. And what happens? They draw against us. And we were actually on really good form. We beat Maccabi Tel Aviv 4-0. We beat Arsenal 2-0. We beat Walsall 4-1. 3 games on the bounce. And we're still undefeated in 4 games. But it's still really, really frustrating. The fact that we can't beat who is probably currently the worst team in the Premier League, Newcastle United. I'd say that maybe along with Sunderland, those two teams are the worst teams in the Premier League right now. And you see Manchester United going out and getting a 3-0 against Sunderland. You see Arsenal going and beating Leicester, who are on good form right now, beating Leicester 5-2. And then you see Chelsea, and you can just see the difference. And it's just very, very visible. I'm not happy at all about this. But you know what? At the end of the day, it is 1 point. It's better than nothing. We did show a lot of character to come back from 2-0 to pinch that point. And in the end, we were playing some quality football in the end. And actually, Pedro. I'll talk about. In fact, I'll go through the players in just a sec. But we could have won this game, to be fair. But we were just terrible. And really, one of the big points about this game is the first half that we played. And the first half, we were awful. We were atrocious. For those of you that have watched Mourinho's post-match interview, he said it perfectly. In the first half, out of 0 to 10, we played like a -1. That just sums it up right there. We played like a -1. In fact, I say we played like a -2. We played atrociously. Just terribly. Newcastle had all the ball. In fact, I don't know what to say. They did get one of their goals in that first half as well, and they were the dominant side. They had all the shots. They had they had all the possession. They had the initiative. They had everything, and eventually they got the goal. And fair play to them, but from our perspective, we played terribly. We didn't do anything, and we looked nothing like the side that played against Walsall, nothing like the side that played against Arsenal, and nothing like the side that played against Maccabi. And that, we looked more like the side that played against Palace, against Everton, against City, which isn't good to see, But after that first half, of course, the second half, we started playing a lot better, and I think. While I was watching the game, in like the 70th minute or something, they showed the statistic of possession. And in the second half, I think the possession was something like 82% to us and 18% to them. It was something crazy like that. And really, we had the ball, we had the chances. And second half, to be fair, we played well. I still think we could have played better. I mean, we really should have played the game like that from the beginning. But I guess that's just football. Let me just go through the team now. The starting 11 was Begovic in defense, Azpilicueta, Ivanovic as captain, and Ko Zouma. Zouma I want to talk about. The two defensive midfielders, Matic and Fabregas. Three attacking midfielders, Pedro, Oscar, Hazard. And I really want to talk about, in fact, I want to talk about all three of them, but especially Pedro. And up front, we had Loic Remy starting. And of course, in like the 70th minute or so, we took off Loic Remy, we took off, who did we take off? We took off Matic, and who else did we take? And we took off Oscar to bring on Ramirez, Falcao, and that other guy, and Willian. And they actually, I think those three were responsible, especially Ramirez. And you guys know how I feel about Ramirez. I don't think he's a great player. I don't think he's got enough quality to be at Chelsea. But you know what? My view of him is changing. In the Walsall game, he played very, very well. He got a goal, he got an assist, and just generally, he played a very, very good game. Today, he scored an absolute stunner. Just go watch that goal, really. You're missing out if you don't watch that goal. I can't take anything away from that. He scored a stunner to get the momentum shifting back onto our side. And the second goal, even though Willian did score it, Ramirez played a big, big role in that ball going into the back of the net. And Ramirez could have even had a third goal near the end out of a free kick. He had a really good header. Unfortunately, hit it straight at the keeper. So Krul could save the ball. But Ramirez was the best player for me in terms of Chelsea players in that game. But as I said, let me just go through the players that I want to talk about. And let me begin with Zouma. And the reason that I want to talk about Zouma is because I was quite surprised today. I wouldn't say he had a bad game today. I think apart from that one big mistake that he made, he played a good game. If he didn't make that mistake, I'd be here saying Zouma played yet another fantastic game. He's a great player for us. What a player. But because of that mistake that cost us the goal, and I'll talk more about that later. But because of that mistake, I'm sitting here thinking, Zouma is 19 years old or 20 years old, and maybe he's showing that inexperience. I don't know. The thing is, what happened was, as I said, go watch the highlights. But for those of you that won't, for whatever reason, Zouma, what happened was they crossed it in, right? Newcastle crossed it in from the right into Ayose, and Zouma had a really, really easy header. He could have just jumped, headed the ball away, and you know the leap that Zouma has, right? So it's really, really easy. He just jumps, he heads it away. But for whatever reason, Zouma just stood there and watched the ball go to Ayose Perez, and he just kicks it in the back of the net. As simple as that. And I still can't understand what happened. Sometimes you could say, like when Branislav Ivanovic was playing poorly. In fact, today I think he played a decent game. I think Ivanovic has been playing some good games in the last, 3 games or so, in the last 3 games from Arsenal, Maccabi, and Arsenal. He didn't play against Maccabi. Arsenal, Walsall, and today against Newcastle. I think Ivanovic played a decent game. But when Ivanovic was playing poorly, we could see where the problem was. We said, he's lacking pace. Maybe his awareness of the game in terms of his positioning isn't, as good as last season. When he was playing poorly. Of course, now he's a lot better. But Zouma, I can't understand what happened. Maybe he didn't know that Perez was there. Maybe his just awareness wasn't good enough. Maybe I don't know, just go watch the goal yourself. It really just left me baffled. Live, when I was watching this, I was just staring at the screen thinking, Zouma, what are you doing? You know, it's just simple defending. It's the most basic of things that you can do. You know, when a ball comes in, as a defender, when you've got a player behind you, you head the ball. But Zouma just stood there and literally he watched the ball and he even turned around to look at Perez. Maybe he wanted a good angle to see him score. I don't know. But he just didn't do anything. And you know, as I said, he didn't play. In fact, he played a great game. He made some great tackles. He was very, very strong in the air, you know, in other situations in the game. And I think he played a fantastic game. But that one mistake, which I think cost us the game, really baffles me. And the reason and by the way, as I said before in the video, the goals we conceded were cheap. They were terrible goals to give away, and our defense looked bad. And really, they were. And the most annoying thing was that they were both individual mistakes. It wasn't a team effort. It was just two individuals, Zouma and Fabregas, who messed up and gave away the goals. So you know, I can't really criticize a team as a defensive unit because in the beginning of the season, the team as a whole were defending atrociously. But now maybe we are getting there. We are getting a bit more solid. But it's just individual players letting us down, and really two individual mistakes cost us 2 goals today. Which led to us coming out with a point, and a disappointing point at that. What else did I want to talk about? Yes, Zouma. Let's talk about Fabregas actually. As I said, Fabregas' second goal, that was purely his fault. And we know that Fabregas isn't the best defender in the world. And let me just explain the goal to you. It was a corner kick. He crosses it in. Fabregas is meant to be marking Wijnaldum. But you know, when Wijnaldum makes the run, Fabregas doesn't even make an effort. Sorry? Oh my god, I need some water. So Fabregas, he doesn't even make an effort to keep up with Wijnaldum. He doesn't even try to go there. He doesn't try to make, he doesn't try to defend the ball. What he does is he just stands there and watches Wijnaldum. It's like Kurt Zouma. In fact, it's very, very similar. He just stands there, watches Wijnaldum go, and he concedes. And it just baffles me. I don't know. He didn't even try. And maybe it's similar to Zouma in that I don't know what happened. I just don't know what happened. And as I said, we know that Fabregas isn't the best of defenders, but really that's a basic footballing thing. For no matter what position you're in a corner kick, when you're playing man to man and your man is running, you run with him. It's just a basic foundation of football. And 2 stupid goals that we gave away today cost us the game, as I said. But let's talk about our goals. Ramirez, of course, as I said, he scored a stunner in the 79th minute. And Willian, from a free kick, it was a very, very similar goal to Willian's free kick against Swansea, if you guys remember that. He kind of kicks it, and it's like, against Swansea, Gary Cahill almost gets a toe to it, which cons the goalkeeper, and the ball ends up going in. Very similar here. Willian kicked it. Ramirez looks like he's gonna head the ball, which cons Tim Krul and allows the ball to go into the back of the net. And as I said, it was 2-2, and the game could have been 3-2. And I want to praise Fabregas about this. Fabregas, in my opinion, first half, he played terribly. But to be fair, the whole Chelsea team played terribly in the first half. I can't name one player who played well in that first half. And as Mourinho said, from a scale from 0 to 10, we played like a -1 in that first half. But second half, Fabregas looked good. He was making long passes. He was passing the ball around quickly. He was doing things. And in fact, near the end, he made the most sumptuous ball that you will see in your life. The weight of the ball is just perfect. The direction, just everything about the ball that he plays is so perfect. And Pedro gets the ball. Pedro, great touch, brings it down one-on-one with the goalkeeper in like the 80-something minute to win us the game, and he kicks it over the bar. And I want to talk about Pedro because I think he played a terrible game today. Pedro, today, I don't know. Let me just say, against West Brom, he played a great game. But since then, since that game against West Brom, I can't remember a game where I said Pedro has played amazing today, or Pedro is good, Pedro is this. No, since that debut, he has been nothing but disappointing in my opinion. But to be fair, the entire Chelsea team in the first few weeks of the season were just terrible. So you couldn't really blame Pedro for that. Against Walsall, he did get a goal. He did get a good goal indeed. For the 10 minutes or so that he played decently. But today, he was just absent. He was not there. Whenever he got the ball, he lost it. And I think this is a classic case of a player moving from BBVA into the Premier League. And you just have to adjust to that physical aspect of the Premier League, especially against teams like Newcastle, where they're really going to impose their physicality on you. And their left back, I can't remember the name. I think it was like Mbuem. I can't remember the name of that left back. But that left back was strong, and he played a good game. And Pedro was up against him. And whenever Pedro got the ball, the defender would just nick it off him, and Pedro would be so weak, and he'd go down to ground so easily. He does this thing, and if you watch the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched the game, you'll just think that I'm being really weird. But he does this thing where he kind of does this and squirms around like a worm, and he gets really low. And if you watch the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. He does this, and he tries to, like, I don't know what he does, and then he eventually, because he's doing this, he ends up falling over, and it's not even a foul. It's just he's weak, or whatever he's doing is stopping him from being strong. And that annoyed me so much in that game. It genuinely annoyed me. And whenever he got the ball, whenever he tried to dribble, he would do this. He would, as I said, if you haven't watched the game, you won't know what I'm talking about. But if you did, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And just other than that, Pedro looked very, very sloppy today. He looked slow. His passing was off, as in it was terrible. His dribbling was terrible, and as I said, he always did this when he was dribbling for whatever reason. Stop doing that, Pedro. His I don't know, just everything about his play wasn't very good today. And I still do think, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying that he had a bad game. I do think he can bounce back from this. I hope he's gonna bounce back from this. But for right now, as of current form, I would definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, start Willian ahead of Pedro. I think he's a much better player at the moment, and that's just the truth. Pedro, very, very disappointing for me today. Oscar and Hazard, I want to talk about them as well. But before I get to them, let me just say, in the first half, the whole Chelsea team played a very, very slow game. And I think that's one of the reasons that we played so badly. Whenever we got the ball, we take 1, 2, 3, 4 touches and then offload the ball very, very slowly. The ball would roll, and then just about get to the player. It was like watching South Korea play football. I don't know if you guys ever watched South Korea play football, but I'm South Korean, so I watch them all the time. And it's just, they can't pass the ball. As in, when they pass the ball, they don't put it into their feet. The ball kind of rolls and slows down, and it just about reaches the player. And watching Chelsea today was so frustrating. And I feel like Chelsea as a team play better when the surface is wet, when it's raining, because that ball zips around the pitch a lot quicker. And I think that fast tempo suits Chelsea a lot more. And the reason that we played so badly this first half was because we for some reason, we couldn't pass the ball. It didn't help that and the pitch wasn't slippery and all that, but we should be able to pass the ball. Come on, Chelsea, we're better than that. And the players just looked like the players that played against Crystal Palace or against Everton. They looked lifeless. They looked spiritless, and they looked like they didn't even want to be on the pitch in that first half. Second half, to be fair, we played well. I think Mourinho had a stern talking to in that first half, in that halftime break, and he really woke up the players. He really motivated them well, and credit to Mourinho, credit to the players in the second half. But the first half, so slow. We couldn't pass the ball quickly. We couldn't get quick 1-2s going, and I think, I don't know if this is an official statistic, but I can't remember Chelsea having a shot on target in that first half. No, in fact, I do remember. Fabregas had 1 shot on target. In fact, it was a great shot by Fabregas, to be fair to him. I think Fabregas had a good game. Of course, he didn't make that mistake against Wijnaldum. It's similar to Zouma. They both had not fantastic games, but they both had decent games. Just, they made one stupid mistake that cost us 2 goals. So, there's that. But I think we had 1 shot on target from range as well. So that tells you how we were playing in that first half. Just terribly. Just awfully. And you know what? Hazard and Oscar, who were playing as well, I don't think they had particularly bad games. In fact, Hazard in that second half, I think he was very, very good. In fact, he had this one mesmerizing run where the Hazard of last season would have probably scored at the end of it. And I feel like his finishing just needs to improve for him to really become a world-class player. I think one of the reasons that he's not considered, when Chelsea fans say that he's up there with Messi and Ronaldo, when he's up there with Neymar and Suarez and Aguero, some people laugh at us and say, Hazard's nowhere near there. He only scored 14 goals last season or whatever, and half of them were penalties, blah, blah, blah. And I think Hazard, if he starts finishing just 10% more of his chances, he can get so many goals. And because he's a player that gets a lot of chances, that creates so many chances for himself, because he has that incredible dribbling about him, he has the potential really to become incredible. He just needs to work on his finishing, I think, and that showed today. But of course, as I said, Hazard, Oscar didn't play bad games, but in that first half, both of them. In fact, I think Hazard was the only one that was trying to inject some pace into the game, trying to pass the ball a bit quickly. Oscar at times, but really the whole team as a whole wasn't playing very well. Our striker up front was Loic Remy, of course, and he played a terrible game. He had some good chances, he got into some good positions, but he just couldn't finish. And I feel like I say this about Loic Remy a lot. He gets into good positions, he gets chances, but he doesn't score. And it was a game like that today. And you know what? When he was substituted and when we brought on Falcao in that second half, I was so happy because Remy. No. To be fair, Falcao didn't play a great game today as well. And really, what showed today was the absence of Diego Costa. And it's really games like this where you truly understand how important Costa is to the team, how good of a player Costa actually is, and that really did show today. And that kind of I think I've talked enough about the game. It was disappointing. We did show great character. We did show great spirit to come back from a 2-0. But the truth is, we never should have been 2-0 down in the first place. And it's really stupid, cheap, really disgraceful goals to give away. But you know what? What's done is done. We just gotta move on. There's nothing else we can do. But I just want to look at the Premier League title in the bigger picture, in the league table. Look at how some of our oppositions did. And as I said earlier this game, of course, Manchester United won the game against Sunderland 3-0. Leicester, in fact, I want to talk a bit about the other games as well. So maybe some mini match reviews of the other games as well. Manchester United versus Sunderland. That first half, Man U played below average. In fact, I'd say they played almost as bad as Chelsea did in that first half. But the difference is, Man U is on great form right now. Their players are confident. And that's the difference, I think. Today, Chelsea players, for whatever reason, we're on a good run actually. But for whatever reason, we came out, we looked unconfident. We looked, as I said, spiritless. We looked terrible. Man United, of course, they did get that goal in the 48th minute, I think. And if they hadn't got, in the first half, so in injury time, they did get that goal. Which, if they hadn't got that goal, the second half could have been very, very different. But they did get the goal which put them 1-0 up. And from there, the second half, they were all over Swansea. They were all over Sunderland. But that first half, they were poor as well. And I think Manchester United, they are first in the league right now. They do have 16 points. They're ahead of Manchester City, who lost against Tottenham, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Man United, they are top, but they haven't been playing well. And it's strange. It's very, very strange. It's that they've kind of been playing, I don't want to say similar to Chelsea, but they are playing similar to Chelsea in the way that they don't play great games, but they have good spells. But the difference between us and them is that they manage to finish their chances. They manage to score the goals that they get, the chances that they get. And I guess that's the difference between first place and 15th place, whatever we're in right now. That's the difference. Another game that was on was Leicester versus Arsenal, and Leicester actually went up 1-0 in that game. And I thought this could be good. They're playing at home. They're on really, really good form. Hopefully they can make a win against Arsenal, but Arsenal showed their quality. Alexis Sanchez ending his goal drought, getting a hat-trick with some decent goals as well. 5-2 to Arsenal. Heartbreaking to see as a Chelsea fan. Of course, there was that. So Arsenal are 13 points right now, I think. So United 16, Arsenal 13, and Man City stayed at 15 because they lost back-to-back games in the Premier League. They lost against West Ham and they lost against Tottenham. And this was a very, very controversial game. 4-1. Arguably, Kevin De Bruyne's goal was offside. I personally don't think that his goal was offside. But what definitely was offside was Tottenham's first and second goals. The first goal, Kyle Walker, offside by a mile. And, it's not easy to feel sorry for Manchester City as a Chelsea fan. But as a football fan, I gotta feel sorry for Chelsea. I gotta feel sorry for Manchester City because they've been hard done by. And he was clearly off by a mile. And the second goal as well, Harry Kane was offside, which the linesman couldn't see once again. It was I guess in a way as a football fan it was disappointing to see, but as a Chelsea fan it was great to see because Tottenham battered them 4-1. That's gonna make Manchester City's confidence very, very low, which is good for us. In fact, if you look at the last 4 games they played, they lost at home against Juventus. They lost. Did they play? They lost at home against West. Actually, I'm pretty sure they lost at home against West Ham. They beat whoever they played in the championship in the Capital One Cup. I can't remember. They beat Sunderland 4-1, I think. And they played a decent game with Aguero getting goals, Kevin De Bruyne getting a goal, and of course, now against Tottenham they lost. So out of their 4 games, they lost 3, and they won 1 in the Capital One Cup, which you'd expect them to do. So they're not on a great form as well. And their next game is away in the Champions League against Mönchengladbach. They're not a bad team at all. So if they lose against them, who knows what can happen to City? They're on a terrible form right now in terms of their recent form. And it's crazy how things can change so quickly. If you guys remember just a few weeks ago, people were saying Man City are going to run away with the title. But I'm a guy that likes to kind of keep things in perspective. And I always said, Man City, they're going to have dips throughout the season. Just like any team. Manchester United, they're eventually going to dip as well. Arsenal are going to dip as well. Every team has a dip. And hopefully, for Chelsea, we're going to have it early and get it done with. And we can play well until the rest of the season. But who knows what's going to happen. The truth is, as it stands, we've got 8 points. We're 8 points behind first place. We're 7 points behind second place. And we're 5 points behind Arsenal. And really, that gap could have been 2 points smaller if we'd won this game. And really, this game should have been a game. This game was a game that we really should have won. And that gap should have been a lot closer. And, when I was watching the game, I was so excited because before the game, I watched the City-Tottenham game. I saw that City lost. I watched the Leicester-Arsenal game, and you know what? Arsenal won, but I didn't care because Man City lost, and that was what was important. And I knew that Chelsea could win this game because Newcastle were on terrible form. Chelsea were on decent form in the last 3 games. And watching us go 2-0 down was heartbreaking. And you know what? Let's just move on. Of course, our next game is against Porto in the Champions League Tuesday night. Hopefully, we can go ahead and win this game. We are away at Porto. It's going to be interesting to see Mourinho line up against his former team that he has so many good memories with, I guess. But you know what? Tuesday is not a day for memories. It's a day where we have to be ruthless. It's a day where we have to win. And if we, winning this game would, in my opinion, kind of guarantee us a place of us, being first in our Champions League table. And really, our group is the easiest group in the Champions League, no doubt about that. We should be topping that group easily, without a problem. But the way we're playing, we're so inconsistent. Who knows what's going to happen. Hopefully we do get this win away at Porto. This is definitely the toughest game of our Champions League group. So winning this would do wonders for us as a club and do wonders for the club, do wonders for the players in terms of their confidence. But of course that game is Tuesday night. Hopefully you guys can catch that, and after you catch that on Wednesday, I will be here with a match review for you guys. But until then, stay blue.